Doesn't even look like many people are actually getting ready to race.
That's what I mean.
Because they straight away, knowing what happened, and they tried to save the guy. But at the time, because it was so cold, do you find it was cold?
Yes.
It was
yes,
cold, that's
yes.
think you're right. I think it's falling. I think it's falling a little bit. I think a lap must be over the cake. It looks pretty big.
Chris, how many laps is it?
5 once you go through Arch.
Oh, there.
There you go.
Ambient sound.
What?
Ambient sound.
Ah, is it?
Yeah. At the moment, yeah. Mate, you sure? This loop looks more than a K.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll find out when it all comes back.
All right, sorry guys, 4 laps.
Bingley, mate. Bingley.
This is what happens with Podium. You always get someone stepping down, wanting to win the race. Yeah, we go on social media and say, fucking smashed it, won the race. That camera's not in it.
Yeah, it's the sound.
We made that mistake, didn't we? We made that mistake all the time.
Oh god, yeah, so many times. At the Iffy Festival of Miles.
Those are what?
No, I know, yeah. That deep behind doing long race. Yeah. Where's Bolton in?
We drive this.
Hello, Vicky.
Hiya.
Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, no. This
No,
is
it's not. That was not on.
No. The main camera is this one. The audio is picking up the ambient one. So for this race.
Yeah, I might grab those mics. It's getting a bit drizzly, mate.
No. It's alright. Do you wanna start?
Are you sure they're waterproof?
Yeah.
Oh.
They'll be fine. You're gonna probably compensate for
They're
this one. But stream's going. It's fine. No. Yeah, that's the second. That's for the time. What we can do, we can sort of just get I've got time at half here. Once we get the rest we can just kind of walk back.
Chris?
Yeah, you're gonna be over there.
Chris? You get me my number at some point.
Oh, are you doing more the social?
Yeah. Am I? I've got my club vest. What vest shall I wear? Club vest or? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Unless you want endorphin, what's it too?
Yeah, I want the endorphin, mate.
No, yeah, yeah. He was with
Yeah, club vest. I was right.
the other photographer. Because of the weather, I'm supposed to have the drone up, but at the moment, depending on how the weather goes, at some point I'll do the drone. I reckon I'll you can do it like this. Yeah, and this can go a lot higher. But this goes cooler, so
Here we go. Woo! Better be a large.
What if the weather improves? I'm going to have another camera.
Wait, was Eleanor?
Oh,
Oh, Nike! Right. Hey, said I just want to quote Joris. If you want to quote it in commentary.
huh?
What? I've only come for one thing today. It's £1,000 to take the fucking win, innit? Quote.
Yeah, we know.
And he said, I will finish.
Yeah. Did you say it's not 4.5 laps, it's 5.5 laps?
What's up? You alright? You good? Have you got it? Hey, it's perfect now. Could be a fucking goal.
Stick this behind the guy on your own show. It's the course, yeah. Do you know the way? Yeah, it's the West Ham one, like anything you do. How did you get it?
It wasn't too bad, man. I got
Oh, yeah, he was just kicking about here, yeah.
it's funny. the keeper in the stroke. Jesus Christ, you just thrown this from Paul. Yeah. I go into like, you know when you go into water balance? Pins up there, right, I'm going to sit in the car.
Sounds good, mate. Come find me.
Yeah, well done.
You say Tim's here as well?
Nah, Finny ain't
Oh, right.
Yeah, so Chris says for the first race and then we'll let it go. They were late to get back. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Well, that's all great. That's all. That's all. That's good stuff.
Get on that. Let's get your race done. I mean, love, do you want to pop your laptop on as well? So we've got the race. Do with the sun coming out, couldn't we, Vicky?
It's one great big grey cloud.
I know,
right here.
just sitting.
It's fine all the way down to Leeds. So it's like, brilliant.
What do you want white noise? Because you always says no fight.
When you start to come to do it, right?
The next one. They're every half hour, aren't they?
They are.
So once it's all wrapped, we'll do a little intro. It's soft. I know it's soft. Yeah, we don't. I mean, well, we're just gonna. I was kind of hoping like try and. Yeah, to be fair, I think. Yeah, I think we will. We'll try and like zoom on it a bit. Yes. About the giveaway. Yeah.
Sam. Come on, Dave. Oh, yeah, they didn't make it.
No, they have. It's in the corner, but it's a manual block.
Under the finishing thing.
Yeah, they have.
Really push this Kate.
Nice. Oh, you should be going. No, no.
Go on, Helen, you've got to work now.
Okay, I'll just put it up.
Come on.
Where's Paivey? Can I get the front on these?
At the moment
They're still using it.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you want to switch the back?
Yeah.
You in the 8 as well? Oh, good man. He said like the slowest in there is 14.59. Probably about where I'm at. I know. We just got to key off old Cali, mate.
Open up now, all the way. Less than 100.
I love we can just watch his screen. Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Corner.
Yeah, I've got it, mate. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Mate, it's no biggie. Go on, grab the mic, shall I? We'll hit the intro. 10 minutes? Oh, we'll do 5 minutes.
That's a better shelter than.
They on you?
Yeah. Not yet. I'll get them on. Just waiting for that guy.
Yeah, we'll wait for the towel, clear this all up.
And then we'll get to
Yeah, man. Oh, here we are. Legend, mate.
Thank you.
Give it back to me then, right?
Cheers, man. God, yeah.
Anything else?
Nah, we're set, mate, I think.
Yeah, sorry about deck chairs, a bit casual, aren't they?
Oh, nah, casual the better. Want to be comfy.
Nice weather. So, it's a green screen arrangement.
Yeah, so that's gonna be probably just there. Yeah, I've got that there once. But again, that's dependent on what kind of feed we have at the moment. Because if we have to go for the wireless option, then that we might have to hold off that. Just based on the rain and the camera, if you have to use the phone. Yeah.
Yep.
Are those on now?
I don't think so. Not on yet, are they, Vic? No.
Pop your head round
You're
here.
live.
Pop your head round here. Yeah. We good? Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Saucony times Podium, the collab here, testing out the Endorphin Pro 3s, and we are here. You've just joining us at race. This is the D race. I'm going to be your host throughout the afternoon, Matt said, and alongside co-host of the Sunday podcast, Ollie Lum as well.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Matt. Obviously, weather not quite what we'd like, but look, this course is looking very fast nonetheless.
It is fast. They've just gone through the finish line gantry there. They're going to have 5 in a bit laps, so 5 laps in 100 metres or so, Ollie, today. And it is a fast course. There is a slight uphill, which they're just going to turn on now. It is a cycle track used here in Leicestershire. Almost an identical carbon copy of the famous Podium 5K up in Barrowford as well. And I know Chris is very keen. He thinks these lap courses work. It holds the atmosphere. I agree with that. You can see the kind of fans lining that fence. Saucony all over it, as they are doing a brilliant job sponsoring this event today as well. And also it's a big promotion for their new shoe, which is probably going to get a good test today, Lum, especially in these wet conditions. Sometimes we test shoes in dry conditions, but the shoe today is definitely going to have to hold up out here.
Yeah, 100%, and I think, look, we've got the Saucony only race later on today, so we'll really see them put through their paces in a sea of pink shoes flying around the course later. But look, as you mentioned, Matt, that Saucony branding over on the fences over there, we're coming accustomed to see that from Saucony, obviously sponsors of the British Milers Club this season and the National Cross Country over the years. So look, they're supporting this top quality road race today, they're supporting the top track races and the top cross country races in the UK.
They are indeed, and when these guys swing round for what will be a completion of their first lap, we'll get an eye on some of the bib numbers and we can start telling you who's at the fore, who's at the front of this race out here today. It's a good group. I mean, the races get bigger, the depth gets stronger as well as the afternoon goes on here today. There's 30 or 40 in this one, and I know in the A race to finish up, there's going to be 70. So it's going to be a sea of athletes, hopefully in Saucony shoes as well, chasing around this cycle track today, trying to set some 5K PBs. And although it is raining, there's not much wind, so that's a positive because as runners, it's the wind that really affects us, not so much the wet conditions.
Yeah, 100%, and as I always say, a bit of rain, more oxygen in the air, perfect conditions for distance running. As long as these shoes hold up, the grip will be fine, and I think they'll absolutely fly around this course today.
Absolutely. So, like I said, you're joining us. This is the D race. We had the E race off before. Arguably the worst conditions they just performed in. As I say that, the kind of rain picks up and the wind kind of sweeps across. But like I say, we've got a race on every half hour. So this one went off at 12:30. Was 2 and a bit minutes in as they come round for, pretty much a lap is going to be just over a K. Just under a K, I apologise. So when they go through this Saucony gantry, we'll try and get some identification on who's who in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got a pretty big pack leading this one out. Obviously, in contrast to the first race where we had one athlete storming away from gun to tape. But look at this pack here coming through. Matt, have we got some IDs on those numbers now?
Yeah, up at the front there, 244. That's Mark Ince. He's the Brat Club. Happy to be out front. The triathlete, or the triathlon-based club. And don't be surprised to see a lot of pack running. Given these conditions, they are into a slight headwind at the moment. But you know what? This is good to see. It shows. We know Chris Barnes does a brilliant job, and so does SportsShoes in seeding the races here, especially at Podium. It's what they've been known for over the years. And similar thing today. It looks like they've seeded it spot on. This race looking to be expected to be inside 17 minutes. Yeah, probably around about 16:30. So we start getting some identification on the sort of time and the pace they're operating at out here. But yeah, it's still at the front there. Mark Ince leading the way as they go into a single file up that slight incline.
And this is probably the toughest part of this course. Obviously, going up the slight incline, like you say, Matt, and now they're going to come off it, and then they've got a nice downhill all the way down to the other hairpin turn at the other end of the course too.
They do indeed. You can almost tell when they run into the wind because it all bunches up and they all tuck behind the race leader. But believe it or not, I think they do have the wind with them on this section of the course. The rain getting very, very heavy out there. It's 251 as well. Let's try and identify him just on the shoulder of the leader at Darlington, Magala and Long Eaton Running Club. He's out there as well. So we've got a sea of vests, a sea of different clubs out here today. Dudley and Stourbridge, Newark, Vale Royal, of course, Wickham Phoenix, Cambridge and Coleridge, Oxford City, Lewes AC, a whole host up and down the country. And that's one of the perks having a central location as opposed to Barrowford, is a lot of people from the south can also come to this meet as well as the north.
Yeah, and we are just seeing that kind of main train of group picking up a bit, and it looks like we're having a few stragglers off the back there now.
Yeah, it's going to get tough for a lot of these men out there, and I believe there's just one female in this race, so we will try and identify her when she comes around on that next lap. And I believe we did have Imogen Wood to be in this one, Lum, but I can't see her on the start line, so that female is most likely someone else.
Yeah, we have had a few women asking to move up races over the past few days. Chris Barnes has been promoting that on Podium 5K over on Instagram. Obviously, Callie Thackeray already run the World Championship standard for the 5K on the track this summer. Unfortunately, was not selected to go to Eugene for the World Champs, but she's asked to move up into the A race later on today, so we will be really interested to see how she goes. Obviously, last time that happened, we had Beth Potter running the world record for 5K on the road up in Barrowford on that course, so will we see a repeat of that today?
Ooh, tough one, tough to call. I think these conditions, that would be a tall order. I got to admit, we do know the shape Callie Thackeray's in. 15 O's on the track already this year, just missing out on World Championship qualification last weekend at the British Champs. So she's coming here, wanting a little bit of revenge, arguably.
Yeah, now they've come through that start line again, and they're going to go through the finish as well.
All the same leaders in there, and I'm just looking at a young 240 there, Tyler Hawley of Birchfield Harriers. He's in the yellow vest, the Say Sky vest.
Yeah, and it looks like they're swallowing up our early race leader a little bit. People are wanting to help out and push the pace on a bit more. Look at that pack, it's about 5 abreast.
Yep, and I can identify that female just hanging on to the back of that big group of men. And that is Gemma Hilliar Moses, the Charmwood AC athlete, 241 on a number. She's going to be in the bright green, if you like, the simple bright green strip, the orange shoes. So she's doing a brilliant job just hanging on to those guys, and I think in many aspects that's all you need to do. This is why these races, and this is what Sports Shoes and Chris Barnes and Podium 5K have become famous for. It's just the simplicity of these races, Ollie. You know, you rock up, it's a fast racetrack, the course does the work for you, and all you kind of have to do is just turn up and just hang on to whoever's at the front. And now we're seeing a little bit of rotation in the leader as well. And that is Jasper Baker, 223, the Lose AC man in the orange. He looks like he's going to push the pace on now, try and string this group out a little bit. They're pretty much halfway in this race now. They've done 2.5 laps, so...
7:53.
And that's 7:53 on the clock, so we are on for a good clock in here. Hopefully lots of PBs throughout this field.
Yeah, they are, and if you're an athlete, you really just want it. We're just seeing a few just almost check behind and almost just slow down to just let the other pack catch up in order for them just to settle into their rhythm again and work as a little bit of a team. Even though you are racing for yourself today, you probably don't want to isolate yourself out there. It's going to be a pretty miserable 15 minutes or so if you are on your own most of the way.
Well, yeah, Matt, you mentioned the simplicity of the event, and you come to a race like this, everyone knows they want to run a PB. It's not a championship race, so hopefully the athletes are going to help each other out there. Otherwise, it's bad for all of them, I guess.
Well, this is it. We had a good discussion last week, Ollie, actually, just about, you know, kind of officials and call-up times and call rooms and how that can kind of negatively impact an athlete when they're going for, you know, a personal best or a race. And here, there's none of that. Your race is on the hour or on the half hour, and you just turn up to the start line and you're ready to go. And I think when you're warming up and going through all those pre-race rituals, it's just so much easier to kind of gauge, you know, your effort throughout warm-up, so you're just ready on the line when the gun goes.
Well, that's it. We want to take as much pressure off the athletes as we can and allow them to concentrate on the race itself. And look, Chris called them to the start about 5 minutes before. He makes sure they're ready, and look, then the gun goes off and you're raring to go.
Absolutely, man. And some updates on the race. Jasper Baker has hit the front, and he is laying it down for these guys. Just 2 men are going to come with him, and we'll try to get an identification on them as well. It looks like a Cambridge and Coleridge athlete, a Saw running athlete as well, repping that Saw vest. I believe that's 253 out there. Sam Martin from Poplar RC as well. And 247 is the Coleridge man. And that's going to be Frederick Kylander as well, Cambridge and Coleridge. So those 3 are kind of just gapping themselves. They've got 10 meters or so.
Yeah, and whilst we're seeing gaps open up in the field, we've still got some nice pack running going on. We've got 3 packs up at the front, so there's still plenty of people to run with. Obviously, the occasional isolated runner, but hopefully they can latch on the back of some of these groups and pull themselves around.
Well, this is it. This is a dream for Gemma Hilliar Moses there, the Charnwood athlete. She is just on the back of that group of guys, and she hasn't had to, be up the front. She's been shielded by the wind all race long, so if she can get, sub 17 minutes in that kind of ballpark, that's very good running. We know 16:30 is extremely good running for a female, so she's heading somewhere in and around that direction. They've got 2 laps to go. Well, just under 2 laps to go. We've just seen the last, the back markers go through that gantry.
Yeah, and I think this is why we've seen such success in road races in recent years. Just this aspect of packed running you don't really get on the track, where it's all about a train. It's very easy to get detached. And obviously the IAAF announced last week that they're bringing in IAAF ranking points for road races from next year, so they'll be able to help athletes qualify in distance races for World Championships.
They are indeed, and look, it's Marcus Knight, 2:46, who's just trying to bridge the gap up to those front boys of Jasper Baker as well. We're 11 minutes on the clock, and we've got a lap and a half to go, so, under a K is going to be operating around about 3:15, something like that for the K split, these lot, so expect them to be sort of 15, inside, maybe just inside that 16 minutes, Ollie.
Yeah, and that should be really impressive running, especially so early in the day, because we only expect these races to get faster and faster. And hopefully we can get towards some of those British record markers that we talked about earlier on and throughout the week. Obviously, a lot of prize money coming up from Saucony for those British records, so let's hopefully see some athletes attack them.
Yeah, we're going to get to that prize money later, because this meet is backed, obviously, by Saucony. And they've done a brilliant job in putting up some prize money and really encouraging and attracting the best of the best up and down the country. We've seen it everywhere, £10,000 for a British record. Ironically, that's even more than what British Athletics pay out for the British records on the track, Ollie.
Yeah, and we don't want to turn this live stream into one of our classic podcast moan and groans, but obviously we would like to see some things change in the sport, and it's great to see Saucony helping out with events like this today.
Well, they are definitely driving the sport forward, as you say. And Jasper Baker is driving this race forward. He's been at the front now for the best part of 3 laps, settled in early doors, but he's been joined now. So that effort they made on that 4th lap, on the 3rd lap, that crucial 3rd lap in a 5K, he's now been joined, and a few have kind of closed up, and it's going to be a bit of a rally over the last kilometre or so for them out here as they approach 1 lap to go.
Yeah, and with 1 lap to go, I think the wind has definitely dropped again. So even though on this live stream it may look like these are really tough conditions, obviously we have got some quite heavy rain. These guys, the wind's dropping a bit, and hopefully they'll be able to rally on this last lap, like you say, Matt.
Yeah, definitely. Now keep your eye on Tyler Hawley, the young man in the yellow, just sitting in the pack there. He just looks pretty fresh, and he's had a very good race. It was a sensible race. He didn't go with Baker's early move, but now he's latched on, and a few of those who have latched on, they're going to get a big confidence boost coming into this last lap as they do. Now, here we go. Look, they're picking it up already. You can really see them kind of driving. So I think they did settle a little bit on that lap, and it's all about the victory here.
Yeah, and we've got 7 of them in that lead pack now, so hopefully we will see a bit of a ding-dong on this last lap, Matt.
I think we will, and it's the Cambridge and Coleridge man.
And he is really laying it down up that hill now. Toughest part of the course, and I think he's going to try and make them hurt even more on this section.
Yeah, Frederick Carlander is pushing it, like you say, up the hill. Interesting tactic. You either work up the hill or you kind of just coast up the hill and you work down the hill. Don't forget, downhill running is a huge part, and you can make up, you can gap people on the downhill. Most, naturally as humans, we kind of put the brakes on downhill. So if you can open your stride and extend, you can really get a good gap on the downhill. So I hope he works the downhill just like he worked the uphill, but he's got a nice 5-meter lead there. Single file. They're just kind of eyeing him up. So can Frederick Kylander from Cambridge and Coleridge, he's made the trip up. Can he hold on? Half a lap to go.
Yeah, and we mentioned it was 7 in the lead pack. Obviously, we have 1 out in front now, but all 6 are still there chasing him. So if they can work together, they could reel him in over this last 600 meters or so.
And just a note on the atmosphere building here. The weather may be bad, but the atmosphere is not. A lot of people lying in the fence, friends, family. Obviously, the Sports Shoes crew and the Saucony crew as well. And it's just kind of bubbling over here a little bit. We've got free, they've done it right, free pizza, free coffee for every race entry out here.
see that dips.
So just relocating a little bit so we can see them coming round, and I can report it. It's still Frederick Kylander at the front, and he's laid it down. I said, I hope he works it downhill, Ollie. He's done exactly that, and he's got a good 10, 20 metres on that pack of 5 behind him. It's going to be interesting to see what happens for the minor positions out here. But at the front, if he can hold it together, Frederick's got this one wrapped up.
And we are 15:23 on the clock, so we're looking at a good time as well. It should be well inside 16 minutes, I'd have thought.
It's going to be very tight. We can see the crowd just move over as well. They're going to be cheering friends and family on. Another beautiful thing about this course is you can get courtside. We know on the track it's becoming more and more popular. Is that lane 3 kind of beer and cheer, if you like. They're doing it here at Podium. They've adopted the same style at the Sports Shoes and Saucony 5K here, and it's going to be Frederick Kylander. Brilliant move he made. He's going to take this one. Chasing him down hard, though, out there, 2:26. That's Scott Burrell of Harmer Harriers, and in third, it was the guy who did the early running, 2:44. Mark Ince of Bratt Athletic Club. There's your 1, 2, 3, and it's all going on behind. You can see big sprint finishes here. They're going to have the wind with them along this finish and shoot. Another Cambridge man coming through, 2:25, Kieran Brady as well. So it's a good day for Cambridge first, and around about 10th position there as well for him. And Gemma Hilliar Moses, 2:41. Ollie, what's she got on the clock roughly? It's got to be close to that 17-minute mark.
Yeah, so we're about 16:36 now, so that's a fabulous run.
Inside, she's going to be inside 16:30 pretty much, Gemma Hilliar Moses. Brilliant running from her. As you see the rest of them all sort of come down that finish and shoot. This long straightaway. Now, Ollie, this is a long straightaway. A lot can change. It's the best part of, 300-400 meters long is this straight bit of perfectly crushed asphalt.
Yeah, and we're at 16:50 now, so we have 10 seconds to get under that 17-minute barrier, but the majority of this race has done that, and that's fantastic for this time of the day.
Oh, it really is. It really is. We're seeing some good finishes, even a little bit further down the field. Everyone's striving towards their personal best. The rain's eased off, thankfully, as we approach a few more races now. So that was the D race you're just watching finish up now. Obviously, next up, we have the C race. They go in pace order, and the C race, Ollie, the one we're probably looking out for the most, because it is the one that Saucony are sponsoring. And we're going to hopefully see a lot of those Endorphin Pro 3s. We'll catch up, hopefully, after this one with James Steed, Joe Paivey, maybe just get their thoughts on the brand Saucony.
Well, that's it, because it's one thing to train in a shoe, and the Saucony athletes have been doing that the past couple of weeks, but it's another thing to race in it. And like you said earlier, Matt, it's a great chance to test it in all conditions today. On a fast course, but it is wet and slippy.
Yeah, absolutely. It is actually. There is a little bit of water starting to just lay, I suspect on some of the bends as well, which is always a little sketchy for athletes out here, but we are seeing a little bit of laying water. So a few puddles forming as well here at Leicester, but hopefully, looking at the weather forecast, that should be the end of the rain for the afternoon, touch wood. I don't want to commentators curse it or anything like that, but so this next race is due off in 13 minutes time. It's going to be at 1 o'clock, 1300 hours. So we'll run you through that start list in just a minute, but you've got 5 minutes or so just to grab a cup of tea and then tune back in with us. Don't forget to follow Sports Shoes on Instagram as well, and Saucony on Instagram. You can keep up to date with all the latest shoe releases out there as well.
And make sure you keep an eye on the socials today and on this live stream, because we will be doing some giveaways and some prizes later on in the show.
Yeah. And as we approach the A race as well, do comment your predictions for the winning time in that men's A race. And of course the women as well. We've mentioned Callie Thackeray's going to be in there. But if you just drop in the comments on YouTube your prediction for the winning time as well, you can win the giveaway, the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s. Has he turned us on? restart this as well, man.
Okay, and we are back for the Saucony race, probably one of the most highly anticipated races of the day, and you can just feel the atmosphere bring up now. The music's pumping, all the athletes in their Saucony Endorphin Pro vests, everyone's in the shoes. There's a sea of pink over towards the start line.
There is indeed. They're all looking very, very smart out here today. They're going to, like we said, test out these Endorphin Pros, hopefully catch up, interview a few of them after this one. Especially someone like James Thee out there, tried and tested. He's been around the grounds. He's been on the circuit a long time, as Thee as well. He's one big name in this field, alongside, of course, Jo Paivey. How can we not ignore her? She's down to race. Over 40 lump and still going strong, enjoying herself out here as well. And, of course, her husband doing a brilliant job coaching Jake Smith as well.
Yeah, and we spoke to Jake recently, and he said, Jo was planning on coming down to do this race, and sounds like she's very excited, and hopefully we'll see how she goes. I'm sure she's in some half-decent shape, as she always is.
Well, this is it. You know, sometimes professional athletes just can't quite let go, can they? Just can't quite hang up their spikes for good. They kind of stop, and then they get a taste for it again, a taste for training, and they just want to see what shape they're in, and I suspect it's kind of what motivated Jo to come out today, as well, of course, being alongside Saucony as well. They backed her throughout her career as well, so she's kind of grateful for that, paying back a little bit to the brand that helped her become so successful over the years.
So, and we mentioned the kit, and obviously these athletes are looking very, very smart, but like they say on the Diamond League circuit, when plenty of athletes are sponsored by the same brand, this might be the commentator's nightmare here, with everyone in the same uniform and the same flats. But look, myself and Matt hopefully will be able to pick out the athletes, and as we say that, they are heading over to the start line now, and I'm sure the nerves are pumping for some of these as they get ready to chase a top class 5K time.
And as they head over to the start line, then we'll just let the Saucony advert play over. Nice, man. Pop our heads around it. You got the start this one? And there we are then, about to take to their marks. Chris Barnes, race director for Sports Shoes and Podium 5K, has set them off for where they go then. And straight to the forearm is James Thee, of course. Expect him to feature at the front of this one as well. But we've got a very good women's field. Like we said, Jo Paivey, Abby Donnelly, of course, GB International. Eleanor Bolton, another GB International. And Jenny Walsh in here as well. So expect those ladies to feature in this one.
Yeah, for sure. And are we going to see a bit of a race within a race? Obviously, in the last race, we only had one female, but in this, they are mixed in, and it looks like this is kind of the main bulk of the female athletes racing today. So will we be seeing people fight out for that women's kind of prize today?
That is a very good point indeed. You know, look at someone like Eleanor Bolton, Abby Donnelly. These women are capable of breaking 16 minutes out here. They're capable of running around about. We know Donnelly's personal best on the track is around about 15:30 as well. So, you know, if they can get near that sort of time, they're going to be, you know, on the mark for the female prize money. We know it's £1,000 to the winner, but it goes right down for 10th place is £50 as well. So 6th to 10th place get £50 as well. So there's good prize money up here.
Yeah, and obviously we talk about the fantastic prize money, but let's talk about the course as well, because you mentioned earlier potentially athletes on the last lap making it hard up that hill, but we've seen an early leader go to the fore, and he's really pushed up the first hill, and he has broken away from the rest of the pack, and we see a massive pack following. So will we see a bit of a cycling race here with them trying to reel him in for the rest of the race?
Yeah, now that is number 66, so I'm just struggling to identify him. We've almost got a gap in our start list in front of us. So we'll try and get hold of his name out there today. But yeah, he's got a big early lead. And a nice pack just follows him as well. Of course, it's 5 laps. If you're just joining us, it's just over 5 laps. So they've gone through the finish line gantry. So they've got 4.5 laps to go here. It's quite early to be sort of stamping your authority on a 5K like this, especially in these conditions as well.
Yeah, and sometimes we see this in these graded races, though. People are trying to make a bit of a point after being in the race that they don't think they should have been. So some athletes perhaps trying to make a point to the race organisers, and we'll see how they get on. It's always exciting for us as spectators.
Yeah, it really is, and they're going to come round us. They kind of just, this cycle circuit is pretty much 2 long straights and 2 kind of U-turns, sweeping U-turn bends either end as well. And like I said, it's just under a K a lap. So I think, Ollie, that's quite nice for a lot of athletes because they can kind of, you know, program in and lock in. They just know you treat the race, basically it's a 5-lapper, you know, compared to 12.5 laps on a track. It's maybe a little bit easier to manage mentally, and you can break the race down into those pretty much K markers.
Yeah, for sure. And some people like to think of these races in as a 3-miler, some people for Ks, but I guess with a course like today, it's much easier to think of it in the Ks. And as we say that, our early leader is really stringing it out, and he's through the start line already, and he's approaching the finish for 4 laps.
Yeah, he's doing a terrific job, and you just got to look, you know, in these 5K races, you've got to look at their sort of facial expressions, how their shoulders are as well, to see if they are relaxed or not out there. And as we can see, this second pack led by James Thea's up there, and yeah, expect him to sit in, well, what is second in that pack. He's not going to do any of the work out here today. He's going to race for their minor places, but this is a brilliant pack for some of the likes of Eleanor Bolton. She's a national cross-country medalist. Abby Donnelly as well, GB International. Emmy Woods just off the back of that, but it's a brilliant pack for those ladies.
Yeah, for sure. And do you think these men kind of sitting in 2nd to 10th, they're just going to trust that our leader's going to come back to them, or are they going to really try and rally and work their way back towards him, Matt? What do you reckon?
I think it's more of just they've kind of forgot about him already, to be honest, Ollie, and I think you have to in that position. It's still quite early on in the race. It's almost like this is the point where everyone feels good at, you know, a mile into a 5K race, but it's how do you feel after that mile for the next couple of miles, especially that middle mile, that 3rd to 4th K as well. So I think they're almost just ignoring him. They're running their own race. If he comes back and they start to see that gap closed, then I think they switch on into kind of race mode, and, you know, that first position is up for grabs. But I think at the moment they're almost all accepting and they're locking into their end. They're looking good. They're working together as this pack.
Yeah, and you mentioned body language earlier, and our leader really does look pretty relaxed. He had a quick look at the watch over there, so I'm sure he's on his own sort of racing schedule and aiming for some sort of time here. But he looked very relaxed, cadence really good, so we'll check next time he comes around to see if that's slowed at all.
And there we are. I'm just seeing Jo Paivey actually just go on. She's just hanging on as well, so I'm just seeing her out there. And she looks pretty good, and you know she's going to judge the race perfectly as well. She's not going to go out too hard and blow up his Jo Paivey. So I expect her to just maybe pick a few off and work through the field a little bit, I got to admit.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see her coming through and finishing like a train at all.
That's it. So again, next time when they come around, that's going to be the 2-lap mark. And while they do that, Ollie, it's probably a good time for us just to talk about a little bit about the event itself and what else is obviously coming up as well, involved with sports shoes.
Yeah, so obviously this event sponsored by Saucony. We have the Endorphin Pro 3s on show today. Everyone in this race running in the same shoes, so often Formula One fans have a little argument over who would win in the same car, and we'll see a bit of that today. Everyone in the same shoes. There's none of the other brands on offer in this race, so we will truly see who can take on this course the best.
Hey, and it's going to be interesting, you know, how many PBs are we going to see in this race? If we see a lot of PBs and we don't see many PBs later on, then that could be a perfect marketable toy for Saucony out here today.
Yeah, and obviously if you are interested in purchasing a pair of these shoes, they are available on SportsShoes.com. And at the end of this live stream, there will be a special discount code for Saucony kit and shoes on Sports Shoes. So look out for that later on today.
Well, this is it, Ollie. I've just gone trackside. I want to identify a few of these. Obviously, Jamie Thee up there as well. We got Findlay, Thomas in there, Tapley as well, Walmsley, Lindsay. And that pack of females now just dropping off is Abby Donnelly. Just looking to bridge that gap. Jenny Walsh as well, Eleanor Bolton. Just almost a meter opened up and you just saw an injection of pace. But everyone looking pretty controlled still, 2 laps in. They're still not quite halfway. Going to be halfway on that next lap, and a nice group of females as well, just working together as well, just off the back of that original front group. As I say that, Ollie, Jo Paivey just passing me now, looking very relaxed as always, as she did throughout her professional career.
Yeah, and guys, just a reminder about our competition today. If you can predict the winning times for the fastest male and fastest female, you will be in with a chance of winning a prize of £100 vouchers to spend on SportsShoes.com. So make sure you comment on this live stream with your predictions throughout the day.
Well, sweeping around that turn once again. I believe that is 129 leading the way now. That's Christian Tungi. We don't have a club attached for him, but he is now pushing this race on. He's in the cap. He's in the visor, in fact, which isn't a bad shout, Ollie, just keeping that rain off his head. But as we say, James Thee has not moved from, well, what is third place and second place in that pack. He is just happy to kind of sit within, looks very relaxed, and it's just bunching up a little bit. I suspect it probably will over the next kind of, this next lap, this third, fourth lap, it probably will bunch up before we see that real rally again coming into the final lap.
Yeah, and James Thee is someone who's been involved with Saucony for a number of years now, obviously with his group down in Cardiff, and we will see one of his prize athletes, if you like, Jan Thomas, Saucony athlete, racing later on in our A race as well. So he'll be in the Endorphin Pro 3s, and he will be testing those shoes out. Spoke to him earlier on today, and he was very pleased with how they've held up in training. Did a Michigan workout in them the other day, and he said they were excellent, better than any of the other training shoes he's used before. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that.
Yep, and interestingly, one thing I think these shoes are pretty good for as well is that kind of track running. They feel quite natural. We've tested them ourselves as well, Ollie, and they do feel like a natural shoe, although the stack height, Saucony have maxed out at 39.9 mil. We know the legal limit for stack height is 40 mil on the road, and they've said, okay, there's the guidelines. We're going to absolutely do our utmost to reach them. So they've maxed out the stack height, but they still feel pretty natural and very stable as well. They're not, doing these bends, I don't think will affect these athletes out here today.
Yeah, and our leader, obviously in the Endorphin Pro 3s, approaching 2 laps to go, and the clock's just ticking over around 9 minutes, so he is looking on for potentially a sub 15 clock in if he can rally the last 2 kilometers or so.
Okay, and we're starting to see a little bit of separation. We've got Will Lindsay now and James Thee. Those two are your second and third places, and they're just breaking away from that pack. Abby Donnelly and Eleanor Bolton, the 2 females, still remain in that large pack of men as well, as they clip by the laps, 2 laps to go. But we're just seeing a bit of separation now, and I always say this is the hard part of a 5K, really, isn't it? Laps 3 to 4, between 3 and 4K. Before you go into that, final K, everyone can rally that last K, but it's what can you do now? And I have to give it to the race leader, Lum. He has looked phenomenal throughout. He looks like he's running even throughout, and if anything, he looks to be getting stronger. He looks to be picking his pace up now.
And we must apologise again for not getting an ID on our race leader, and we'll be sure to do that at the earliest opportunity. But he is running fantastically at the moment. It looks like he's really pushed up that hill once again, as he has done every lap, and his cadence is not slowed at all.
Yeah, keep an eye on all the social media accounts out there, Sports Shoes, Saucony, and of course, Podium 5K and Sports Shoes races. They're going to be updating you throughout the afternoon, race results as well.
And if you're enjoying our voices, please be sure to check out the Sunday podcast on Instagram. Obviously, we partner with Sports Shoes every week to bring you a guest interview from someone in the athletics world, whether that's an athlete, a coach, or someone significant within the sport. So check that out too.
Absolutely. So I can say quite distinct gaps are now starting to appear. Will Lindsay and James Thee have got the best part of 30 metres or so on the pack behind, but another 2. And just looking to break away again, it was 2:26, wasn't it, before?
Yeah, and at the moment we seem to have 3 kind of key races at the moment. Obviously we've got our race leader, can he hang on for another lap and a half? Then we've got James Thee battling with Will Lindsay, like you said, up at the front of the second pack. And then we have Abby Donnelly versus Eleanor Bolton for the women's victory.
We do indeed, and I'm going to be interested to see how this one plays out towards the end of the race. When they hear, well, what will be the bell. A lot of these athletes used to running on the track, used to doing 12.5 laps of the track, so quite refreshing for them only to be doing 5. 5 and a little bit. Weather just holding out here. The rain luckily has eased.
Yeah, and we are approaching 12 minutes on our clock now.
Well, 12 minutes, we're going to be near enough that 15-minute mark, aren't we? I mean, a lap is under a K. A lap's around about 980 meters reportedly, or roughly, shall I say. That's what we've been told. So, you know, if you can get near a sort of 3-minute K, 12:10 on the clock now.
12:11 with 1 lap to run for our race leader.
Well, can he dip below a 3-minute K and break that 15-minute mark? It would be huge. A solo effort as well. It would be a phenomenal run. And Will Lindsay and James Thie now, I wonder who's going to win that battle lump. I got to put my money. I'd put my house on James Thie, I think. So, Will Lindsay, you got a lot to do to beat the tactician, the master of tactics, James Thie, the experience of him as well.
Well, rumour has it James Thie dropped to 26,200 in the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s the other day in training. So he clearly knows how to go faster than him. He's still sat on Will Lindsay, going on with a lap to go, and like you say, an experienced tactician, very, very good over the road mile and the 1,500 metres on the track.
Well, look, it's all changed in the female race as well. In the women's race, Eleanor Bolton now has followed that group of 4. She's gapped Abby Donnelly, and Abby Donnelly's got an uphill task now because Bolton's with 4 athletes. She's looking comfortable, and Donnelly is kind of isolated on her own out there. So that was, you would have heard the tones of Dan Jarvis as well, just warming up for the A race later. So, and he did say before we went on air that he's here for one reason only, and that is the money, the £1,000 prize pot for the winner.
Yeah. He also promised he will not drop out. He will 100% finish the race. So please call him out if we don't see any of that today.
That's it. And for that A race, don't forget to drop your predictions in the comments. There is a prize for the winner, the closest to that winning time in that men's A race. You know, we got a lot of guys who have broken 40 minutes for 5K, so a bit of inside info for you. Expect it to be around about 14, even below 14 minutes for 5K here as well.
Yeah, and Joe Paivey's just come through with a lap to go, so we'll see how she fares on this last lap of this course.
Absolutely, but it hasn't changed for our race leader. If anything, he went off. There was question marks. Could he maintain that lead? He's comfortably maintained that lead. He's extended it lap on lap on lap. He's been out there on his own in the rain. No help whatsoever except for the awesome crowd here we've got at this event on the far side as well. And a few of them on the infield, on the track circuit as well. So he's coming down. He's got the best part of 300 meters to go. He's looking the best. He's looked pretty much every lap. He's got better. He's almost got quicker as well. So we're sorry we can't identify his name. Keep an eye on the socials as well. But he's looked phenomenal from gun to tape. He's turned up and stormed it.
Yeah, we are now 14:50 on the clock. So it looks like it's going to be very close. But I fear he might just be outside that 15-minute barrier, but still a valiant run from gun to tape.
Absolutely phenomenal performance. Easy work for him, and we're going to see a big kick finish from James Thie, of course.
15:06 for the winner, but here comes James Thie, like you say, Matt, and he is really putting on the burners now as he comes into the home straight. He's gone to the arms, the classic James Thie style, as we've seen many a time, and he is really motoring down this home straight, Matt.
He's all on his toes as well. Will Lindsay, you know you got him beat, James, when he has a little check back over his shoulder. He didn't want to get involved in this kick finish, and Thie all the way to the line. He's going to be inside 16 minutes for sure. Will Lindsay's going to get third. He did the hard graft, and we've got a right old sprint here now as well. Eleanor Bolton in here. She's going to be very close to 16 minutes. Here's Eleanor Bolton. That's going to put her in good stead for that female-only prize. £1,000 up for grabs, as we know, coached by Chris Barnes himself, the meet director, and that is ever so tight on the line as they swarm across a pack of 5 or 6, and they stream in Abby Donnelly as well, the GB International. She's going to be just outside 16 minutes, I believe, for her as well. So valiant effort out there on this track as the rain just drizzling, not much wind here, as we now turn our attention to what is the B race, and in, of course, the A race after as well.
Yeah, and just a couple of unofficial times there. We had James Thie through in 15:36, Will Lindsay in 15:42, and then our women's leader, Eleanor Bolton, just inside 16 minutes with about a 15:55 clocking.
These are quick times. All of those were in the Endorphin Pro 3. So let's keep an eye. You know, we got the B race next, which is supposedly going to be quicker, but let's keep an eye on that time check just to prove, you know, how good these shoes may be.
Yeah, and we will also see some of these shoes later on in the A race. Obviously, some of the Saucony athletes opting to go in the A race later on today, and they will be sporting the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s too. Well, Ollie, that is going to be it for me. I do have to go and warm up and get in that A race. Yeah, so we haven't announced it yet, but Matt Seddon from the Sunday podcast will be repping later on in the A race. Hopefully he can revise his PB that he ran in Barrowford last season, over 5 kilometres, and we'll be interested to see how he gets on. He's training really well at the moment. Spoke to his coach Jeff Seddon this morning, and he said, wow, if Matt doesn't run a PB, I'll be very surprised. So we're looking forward to seeing how Matt gets on later on today. Again, Matt will be wearing the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, his shoe of choice over 5 kilometres on the road at the moment. Yeah, so we are here with...
Can you just move a bit closer together? I can't hear you.
So we're here live with Eleanor Bolton, obviously the first female in the last race. Were you 15:55, El?
Yeah, about that, I think.
How you find that race? Are you pleased with the time?
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy with that. I think it might be close to my PB from quite a few years ago. So you can't complain about that.
Yeah, for sure. How does this sort of road race fit in at this time of year? Obviously, we've been used to seeing you on the track a bit recently. So how does a road race fit in with your schedule at the moment?
Well, I did night of 10Ks. It seems ages ago now, and didn't have a good day there. So I've just been like taking a step back, enjoying it, and so I'm just doing any races and just kind of training through it and just really enjoying it. So it's kind of getting confidence back. I love road racing, so yeah, just a bit of enjoyment really.
Yeah, it's great to see you out there. Obviously, you had a little battle with Abby Donnelly throughout the race, within kind of the main race itself as well. How was that? Because obviously you got the better of her today, and she's a very proficient athlete, both on the road and the cross and track.
To be honest, I thought Abby would have me today. She looked really strong. She kept making moves around to get onto the next group, and I was just like, right, I've got to follow her. And then, yeah, just the kind of last lap or so, she just felt really strong, which I wasn't expecting, so just kind of went for it. And yeah, she's a great athlete, so I'm sure she'll get me next time, but it's good.
Yeah, and one thing, obviously, a topic of conversation today, everyone in the same shoes. How did you find the new Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s today?
I really like them. I've not really done any races in them yet or anything too quick. Got onto the track and did a quick stride, and honestly I thought, right, this is it. They felt really good, really quick. I kind of like something that you can it still feels really reactive, and they still feel like that. So yeah, they were really comfortable. I felt pretty comfy going around, so see how battered my legs are tomorrow and let you know.
Yeah, well, Matt and I were saying that earlier. They actually feel like quite a natural shoe, don't they?
Yeah.
You've got the boost from the carbon plate, but you also feel like you're running normally, if you like.
Yeah, I think that's a massive thing, especially for road racing, that you feel normal, it's a comfortable stride and not changing all of a sudden.
Yeah, what about the grip in these conditions then? Because obviously we had a little bit of a hill, there's some few tight turns over there, and obviously the rain coming down. How do they hold up there?
Yeah, it didn't affect me at all. I mean, it looks like I've done a cross-country race from the mud on my legs, so yeah, it's pretty slippy out there, but I didn't feel myself slipping in the shoes. I think I might have been pushing Abby into the grass a bit, so I got the better surface. So, but no, really good.
Yeah, well, Elle, thanks very much for talking to us. We'll let you get warm and cooled down.
Thank
Enjoy
you
the
very
rest of
much.
the event.
Thank you. Such a waffler.
Yeah,
Thanks, Elle. And the B race are getting ready on the start line now for this penultimate race here at the Saucony and Podium 5K in partnership with Sports Shoes. We've got some top athletes in this one, a massive field on the entries of about 80. I don't think we've got quite as many as that, but there should still be some big packs. And they are away, and we'll try and see who comes to the fore to really take the race by the horns. We've seen in the past few that athletes have been willing to get out right from the start. And if you're just joining us, they are through the finish line now. So that is 5 laps to go. Just over a 5-lap course here for the 5K at the Podium 5K in Leicester. We've spoken a lot throughout the day about the course, and obviously that section there, as you're seeing on your feed, is probably the hardest part. There's a slight incline as they go around the hairpin turn, but now the pack comes through and they're heading into a long downhill section down to the other side of the course, and this is where they can really open up their legs. Whilst this is the B race overall, we do have some of our top females in the UK competing in this one. The likes of Philly Bowden recently competed for GB in the Euro 10K Cup on the track. So she's in fantastic form. Be interesting to see how she goes on the road today. And they've just rounded the hairpin at the other side of the course, and they're going to start coming back towards the start line now, and hopefully we'll be able to get an idea on some of these numbers and see who is leading this race out. Just before we get to them though, obviously around the course we can see the athletes getting ready for the A race of this event, the premier event today, where they will be chasing some seriously fast times, and we can see athletes stretching, having a little jog on the course. Likes of Dan Jarvis. My co-commentator from earlier on today, Matt Seddon, is getting his stretches in, and I can't wait to see how he gets on. So the moment leading, we have 149, William Bowen at the front, and he is really pushing on the pace, but it looks like compared to some of the other races we have more of a pack than we have in our first few. 3:15 through the first lap there. And in this second group here we've got Philly Bowden, who we mentioned earlier, and also Marcus Lovell, one of the leading men in that pack from Milton Keynes Distance Project, also in the race. And they've just rounded up that hill for the second time now. And it still looks like the same leaders up in the front. And we've got 2 clear packs separating now with a few stragglers in the middle. I think if I was them, I'd want to be deciding, do I want to wait and sit with the pack behind me a bit or try and really rally and get onto that front pack, because you don't want to be left in no man's land, particularly today on this sort of course. And there's still a massive lead pack now. I want to say of about 20 athletes, although it does seem to be splintering slightly as they come through the start line for the second time. That looks like 179, Matthew Howard, and then 149, we mentioned earlier, William Bowran leading it out today. As they go through the finish line, they will have 3 laps to go. That is 6:10 there for roundabout 2 kilometers. The laps are slightly shorter than a K. So we obviously had a fabulous winning time of around 15:15 in the last race, the Saucony race in the Endorphin Pro Freeze. Will we see that get broken here in the race that on paper should be a lot quicker? We've got a big pack rather than one athlete on his own, so hopefully they can work together and pull themselves all around for a quick time. I know that's what everyone here wants today. Yeah, that is 179. Matthew Howard, he seems to be stringing it out a bit, but it looks like they've just bunched slightly there. As I say that, maybe the curse of the commentator. It looked like he was opening up a bit of a gap, but they seem to be bunching now, and maybe tactics are going to come into this one. The rain has calmed down a bit from earlier on today, so conditions now not bad at all. If they've managed to stay out the rain, they shouldn't be too wet from their warm-ups, and it's not too cold today if you're racing, especially over 5 kilometers, and the wind is really only a few small gusts at the moment. And just coming by the commentary tent now is Matt Seddon and Dan Jarvis. Looks like they're getting in each other's heads before this one. Could be a bit of a ding-dong over 5 laps today for these two.
He's about to get in my head, it's quite big.
Really sorry for anything you might have picked up there on the mic from Dan Jarvis. And they are through the start line once again. And they've got about 80 meters to go before they hit 2 kilometers to go. It really is getting to crunch time now. We've mentioned all day the 4K and the 5K. You've got to work really hard if you want to push on. We'll try and get a nice split for you. So they've just clicked through 9 minutes now as they approach 2 laps to go. So could still well be on for a sub 15 if they can work together now. 9:07, the official split with 2 laps to go. This is where we've seen a few athletes break away in previous races. up this hill and round the hairpin bend. Philly Bowden now, our leading female, coming through with 2 laps to go herself. And the clock is on about 9:37. Philly's obviously been a guest on the Sunday podcast before, so if you want to check out our interview with her, go to Sunday podcast on Instagram and follow the link in our bio, and you can listen to our interview with Philly all about her career. And we've got a bit of a gap here from our race leader in the red vest over there. We'll hopefully get an idea as he comes back around, but he's got about 8 athletes chasing him down, so he's going to have to really work hard if he wants to maintain that over the last lap and a half or so. Futures. And now our race leader still maintaining his lead of about 10 metres or so. He's going through the start line for the penultimate time, and he's going to approach a lap to go, and we'll check what his split is because we could really see a fast one. We've got about 5 or so athletes going with him. That is 149 William Barron. He's been near the front of this race throughout. And our race leader is 144 Ed Blythman. He is really stringing it out. But it looks like William Barron is closing on him a bit with a lap to go. We'll try and get the split here. So we've just clicked through 12 minutes with a lap to go, so they could really be on for a sub 15 if they rally a little bit over this last just under a kilometre lap. We think it's about 920 metres or so for the lap. Got to give a shout out to Marcus Lovell there, coming through in the Milton Keynes Distance Project vest, former training partner of mine. So go on, Marcus, hope you get your PB, mate. We've got a new race leader up the hill. He's really worked. That's 146. That's Jack Bond. Jack Bond has put 10 metres on the rest of the field now. He's got 4 athletes chasing him, including our previous race leader, Ed Blythman, and William Barron, who's been near the front for the entirety of the race. And it's really hotting up at the front of the race. We've still got about 6 or 7 athletes in contention. Don't want to write anyone else off, but that's how it looks for now. And we're really looking to see how they come down off the last hairpin now. Got about half a lap to run on this 5K. The legs and the lungs are really starting to hurt, and it's time to just put the hammer down. And Jack Bond, number 146, still leading the race. He put in a fantastic last lap, and it looks like he's going to get the win here. He's been through the start line, and he's got about 80 metres to run. Mr. James Thies just joined me on commentary, ready for the final straightaway, his speciality.
Thanks, Ollie. Yeah, absolutely delighted to be here. That final straightaway is quick. So let's see what comes on the clock there. It's going to be inside 15, Ollie, well inside 15.
Wow, so Jack Bond with the win. Inside 15 minutes, our first of the day. Fantastic to see. With still the A race to run as well. And it looks like we should get some really fast clockings today, because on paper, should be much faster in that A race later today.
Yeah, it looks like 7 or 8, sub 15, and a whole load just outside that 15 minutes. There's nothing worse, is there, Ollie, in coming down that home straight and just seeing the clock tick over. So many of them would have 15 minutes as a goal time. Great to see so many different club vests out here. Great to see people that have travelled far and wide. They know what Podium means, Ollie, doesn't it? It means fast times, good races, and also some pizza as well on top.
Well, that's it. All the athletes here getting a free pizza and a coffee as well. And look, we've got a real battle for the winner of the women's race here. Philly Bowden looks like she's going to take it.
Bowden is in shape. Twentyman just behind her as well. It's going to be just over the 15:40 mark. So that is quick running. Bowden is in shape, isn't she? She is literally tearing it up on the track. Great to see her back and in shape. And that's the fastest time in the women's section thus far, Ollie, because I think we've got Callie Thackeray going in that A race. And she's got big hopes. There was talk in the week, wasn't there, about getting towards 15 minutes. So we know with Beth Potter, it is possible in the women's races in Podium. But can Thackeray get towards 15 minutes today?
Yeah, for sure. And she asked in the week, and Chris Barnes has been kind of teasing us on social media whether we can get that record once again. But look, Callie Thackeray's in great shape, and I'm sure she's got a bit of a point to prove after. I'm sure she admitted herself, I think she was a bit disappointed with the British champs last weekend, but still definitely in phenomenal shape. And if you can translate anything that she's like on the track this year, she's going to be great today.
Yeah, if you were at the British Milers Club race at Watford, you literally watched the laps being ticked off by Callie Thackeray. And when you're running 15:08 in a British Milers Club race, that probably puts her, somewhere, in the low 15 minutes, even inside 15 minutes in a super fast race, because she was on her own at the end. Sam Harrison did so much of the work, but she pulled away in the latter stages. And that's why I'm excited to see her today. She's going to be pulled along in that men's A race. It literally is going to be fast and furious at the front. We're expecting sub 14 minutes for those elite men at the front. And then, how many? Probably the whole field, if not Callie on the back of that going sub 15 minutes. That would be what we're looking for in that last race. It's been a great day so far, Ollie, isn't it? It's been a bit damp, but I tell you what, having run myself, that doesn't really has affected the times out there. It's quick, it's not slippy on the corners, and the laps, I tell you what, they really click off fast.
Yeah, well, one thing we were talking about earlier, obviously, the shoes are a big part of today, the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s. James, you ran in them. How were they in those wet conditions? You mentioned it didn't really affect you too much.
Yeah, anyone that knows me, I've been a Saucony freak for a number of years, and so I've seen the progression of the shoes. Obviously, in the last 2 years, the super shoes, the Endorphins, chasing the other brands. And I tell you what, it sounds cliche to say it's the best shoe I've worn, but it is, honestly. It's a shoe that has super cushioning, but I tell you what it also has is you can run fast in it, you can generate nice force to the shoe. I ran 15:30 odd today. I haven't run that fast for a while, so they make an old man feel fast. And I tell you what, if you do get a chance to wear a pair, then get the Endorphin 3 Pros on your feet and see what you can run in them.
Yeah. Wow, Philly Bowden has just kindly come over to us. She hasn't even cooled down yet or had a chance to do that. Philly, how are you?
Tired. That was tough. I feel like I'm covered in grit as well from the road, from just getting stuff kicked in my face from the guys in front of me. Yeah, it's worth it for a PB as well.
Yeah, so Philly, 15:43 unofficially so far. Are you pleased with that? You're in great form at the moment.
Yeah, I didn't really have any sort of target time in mind today. I sort of came into it fairly confident I'd get a PB because my road PB was 16:35 before today. So I just wanted to go out hard and just see how much I could hang on. My first mile was my quickest, so I didn't judge it perfectly, but it's all good to learn.
Yeah, I think sometimes in these road races it's good to just get off and set a good marker for the first mile, especially with a nice big pack for you to sit behind.
Yeah, definitely. The guys definitely helped. Shielded a little bit from the wind. You can't help it with the rain though, so yeah.
Question we all want to know, is there going to be a YouTube vlog for today's race?
There is. Unfortunately, I'm without my cameraman today, so I'm doing it solo. below. Might have to get one of you to take a thumbnail for me afterwards.
Yeah, no problem at all. Obviously, guys, check out Philly's YouTube if you're interested, because it is really interesting to see kind of behind the athlete and what you get up to on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, thank you.
Philly, what is next for you then? Obviously, it's kind of July. There's still plenty of running left this season, but you've done a lot of races already. What is next on the season for you?
Yeah, I'm actually throwing myself into a 1500 on the Watford Gold Standard on 13th. So I'm literally already nervous for that because I never thought I'd enter a 1500 willingly, but I kind of want to test my speed. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting to hear you're doing a 15. You did a marathon. How long ago? Not very long
In February.
ago. In February.
Yeah.
So you're proving that distance runners can tackle it all these days.
Yeah, I like to keep my options open, and yeah, it's just good fun to sort of jump on the track and see what happens.
Okay, we'll let you get warm, Philly, because it is raining here and you haven't cooled down yet. But thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done. At the moment, the leading female, £1,000. So she'll be watching the next race, watching them. But there is obviously good prize money down from those positions below that as well. And I think that was really nice to say that she was like, forget the money, PB. I mean, yeah, as a runner, they're the things that you're looking for. You know, the amount of training that goes in, obviously the setbacks that Philly's had, going to, as you said, going from distances as well. You know, from marathon all the way down now to 1,500 metres in a few weeks' time. I think the fact she's got that big beaming smile and yeah, running the personal best and a little bit of cash to boot, I think it really does show that these races in this time of year as well, being that there's so many track races. You know, we've obviously just on the back of the British Champs as well, that it is needed. These are races that athletes need, and they've got bills to pay as well, haven't they, Ollie?
Yeah, and it's great for the athletes, but it's also great for us as spectators that we get a bit of everything. I think Matt and I have said on the podcast before, almost that March time normally is so exciting. We've got the back end of cross, we've got people who are still maybe doing some indoor races abroad, we've got early tracking out in the States and a few road races knocking about as well. But it's great to see some of this in the summer, mix it up. Obviously some of these athletes competed at British Champs last weekend, so great to see him come straight over onto the road for this. But look, we've also got Joe Paivey, who's kindly come to join us. Obviously, you ran in the Saucony race with yourself, James. So hopefully we'll be able to chat to both of you maybe about how that race went.
Joe, you just ran the same race as me. How did you find that?
Well, I heard that you ran 15:37, did you? I was much slower than that, but yeah, did you really run 15:37?
Don't sound so surprised, Joe.
Really awesome, well done. Yeah, I mean, I was pleased enough. I ran about 17:31, but to be honest, under the circumstances of not being as fit as I'd like to be for one reason or another, and had a bit of a calf problem, but despite that, even if I was really fit, I am a bit old now, so I was pleased enough with that. And you know, even though the weather's not good, everyone went for it. The atmosphere is amazing. You know, Saucony have done a great job getting this going and all trying out the new shoe. We've had a great day and some great performances out there.
Yeah, I just gave my feedback on the Endorphin Pro 3s. What's yours on them?
Yeah, I love them. I love the colour as well. But yeah, I think the new updated version of the Endorphin Pro 3 is brilliant. It's got higher stack height, it's flexible, it's got the cutaways underneath. It just feels light and bouncy and really springs you around. So yeah, totally love it, and it looks so cool too.
Someone was saying they were watching us because obviously we look like a moving train of just Saucony, but they said what they couldn't believe was how quiet it was. Often with carbon shoes you get like a massive slapping noise, but they said it was like dead quiet when we were floating along the concrete. So yeah, did you feel fast in them? I know you've had some injuries, but feel a bit faster today in them?
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, I ran quicker than I expected I would run, considering my stage of fitness, and the shoe was definitely bouncing me along. And you know, I've had a chance to try them in training. I love them because not only do you run faster, you don't get sore legs, and that's a massive benefit for me as well. But you just feel good in them. They've got like the speed roll technology, so you kind of feel like you're rolling off them as well. And I agree as well, you don't hear the slapping sound that you often associate with road races. You couldn't hear it, and watching you know, people coming through that are wearing them, you can't hear any slapping, but it's great. I had the chance to try them out in Paris as well. I went on the trip to Paris where we promoted them, and I got to party in them as well. So I've tried them out in all circumstances, and definitely great for racing, but also for just getting out, training and getting some miles in.
And dancing, you heard it here first. They're a dancing shoe as well.
Yeah, they're good for dancing too, and running on a treadmill in a dress, which I tried them out doing as well. But yeah, I'm thrilled to be here promoting the new shoe. Always proud to be an ambassador for Saucony. So yeah, I've had great fun. I mean, I didn't really notice the weather once I got going. I don't know about you. Did you find it all right out there?
I just found it fun. I just said, as Saucony supporting the races, and to see everyone, in the same kit, and then get to race yourself again, Joe. It was good fun. I mean, that was really good. And the fact that what Podium have done the last few years with the 5K race series and the fast times, I'm super excited in this women's race to see what Callie Thackeray does. So, do you think she can knock on the door 15 minutes?
Yeah, I'm so excited to see the progress she's made, and just her backstory about going out to Australia, having that adventurous spirit, coming back running 15:06. Yeah, actually, I was thinking that's what I did to make my improvement. I went travelling, came back, and it was the first time I made the team. And I was just chatting to her earlier, and she's such a great person, and the time she ran in Watford, running 15:06, just it just shows what she's going to do in the future. And I'm really excited to be able to see her run and see her go from strength to strength. But I agree, Chris has done a great job putting on these Podium races, and I've heard so much about them, and I'm thrilled that I actually got a chance to take part in one. It's my first time.
Yeah, having run this one now, I think I'm going to make the further journey up north as well to visit Barrowford to see what that one's like as well, because that's where Beth Potter ran that super fast time. So
I know, and Beth is someone who I think a lot of. I was on the team with her in Rio, Olympic team, and she's such a great person. I was thrilled seeing how well she ran in that race last year. So yeah, it must be a great course, and she's a great athlete, and it's great to see that performance. I feel like I should try and run in it as well. Not that I'd be able to run that quick, but that's given me a lot of sort of boost of motivation, really, taking part in that. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome, thank you, Joe. So we're going to go and watch the elite race now. So the race A, the last of our race programme, to see who the elite men's takes home that £1,000, but also whether Callie Thackeray can get inside Philly's time of 15:40 from that last race. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Can't wait. Cool.
Thank you, Joe. Awesome. Ollie, men's race, elite race with Callie Thackeray thrown in the mix as well. Who's your money on in the men's race?
Oh, I really don't know at the moment. I mean, Dan Jarvis has been talking all day about how he's only here to take home this money. We've just seen him popping into the Saucony.
He's not spent the money already, is he? Knowing Dan, he's already spent 50% of it.
Everyone likes cash, boys. And I'm here for the cash.
Dan Jarvis there, looking very relaxed ahead of this A race.
I'll tell you what, jokes aside, he's going to be in the mix. Dan on his day, the steeplechase progressions he's made this year. Also, he's a strong guy, isn't he, in terms of, it's going to be a bit of strength today. There's a little bit of breeze on that back section. I think that's the exciting thing. There's so many people in there. Paolo Serafel, you're chucking in the mix as well. Mohammed. There's just athletes that are looking also for a step up as well. Jokes aside, £1,000 to some of these runners, that is worth that extra dig deep in the home straight. That's worth, making a late run for the home, line in the last lap. So it's going to get them chasing some fast times, and I think we're going to see a bit of racecraft as well. Obviously, people want to run fast, but it is going to be a race out there.
100%. And when you put that sort of money on the line, and with the calibre of athletes we have up front, people will be thinking about how the best way they can win this race. I've just seen Jacob Allen do a stride, someone really strong on the cross country in the past. Could he, and he's kind of said he's going to do some marathons later this year potentially, or maybe early next year. So could he, if he's putting in some real strength work, really put a push for it from gun to tape?
Yeah, Ian Thomas, who I know well, obviously coaching him, he's had a bit of an Achilles issue. I mean, he's a sub-14-minute guy. I think he's just hoping his legs hold up and he can run low 14. But, chuck in there's some good Scottish athletes in there as well. And, there's Lewis Jager who's running well. So there's a lot of athletes that are progressing through, and they've done some good track times. But that's the other thing. We're seeing people that have, done some good track times, some that are road dominant, as we've seen with, Philly Bowden. Some are stepping down from marathons, some are stepping up from some shorter distances, 15, 3Ks on the track. I found, having done a little bit of track work the last few weeks, actually that helped it, because there's some sections where you kind of spin the legs, as you come back towards the Saucony gantry. There's that slight downhill section. Having a bit of leg speed definitely helped in my old case anyway.
Well, that's it. And a course like this, it's not like your major marathon when you're on big sweeping streets with sweeping turns. You do have two kind of tight hairpins around here, and one of them up at this end of the course is uphill as well. And I think that is the hardest point. And maybe the cross-country runners there will remember sort of when they're on the mud, they're pushing up those hills and really trying to make a breakaway. Just before this race kicks off, just need to remind you, if you want to get your predictions in for our fastest men's and fastest women's times, please do that. Comment on the live stream, because you can be in a chance of winning £100 Sports Shoes vouchers.
I better get mine in then, Ollie. So, let's see. I think it's one of those where it is probably around 5-6 athletes that can win this. There's, time-wise as well. As I said, you could throw that out the window. Really, it just depends a lot on. There's no pacemakers. I don't think. Sometimes there have been pacemakers in some of the podium races. Just making sure the early pace. But then, I do think there's enough good quality athletes in this race that they will start moving, and it'll be low 14-minute pace probably on that first lap, just by the nature of getting out and being competitive.
I think so, and perhaps maybe the athletes not thinking so much about the prize money, they're going to still want to be getting out towards that sort of pace anyway. So it's going to move the top guys, if you like, along, whether they like it or not. Just see Matt Seddon there completing a stride. Obviously he was on the comms earlier, thrown into this race at the last minute. He's sort of been training for 800s and 1500s like he was a few years ago this season. So we're going to see how he gets on over here. He did want me to run with him, have a bit of bragging rights on the podcast, but I politely declined.
So does that count as a win for Seddon then?
I think so. I'm going to have to give him that one.
Yeah, Matt's a top boy. I've seen him do a few sessions recently, so he's got a good bit of muscle memory in those legs. So it's going to be he's sporting the Endorphin Pro 3s as well. So that's got to be worth a few seconds on the race clock.
100%. And one thing he has been worried about the past few days, I'm sure he will mind me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. He's been worried when Callie Thackeray got moved into the air race that this could be very tight for him. But last year he was actually in Beth Potter's race when she ran the world record.
He just beat her, didn't he?
And he just beat her running about 14:38. So fantastic run for him. Because Matt's someone who doesn't wear a Garmin for these sorts of road races, where a lot of the others do, so they sort of know what pace they're on. It'll be interesting who's actually looking at splits around the course and who's just racing off field today.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I actually did as well, but it's difficult sometimes because your Garmin doesn't always beat. I had it on kilometres, but it kind of gives you a rough indication. What I was kind of looking at here is it's about 20 odd seconds between the start gantry and the finish line, and actually you're looking at around for these guys way inside, well not way inside, a few seconds inside 3 minutes per lap as they're getting ready to start. There we go, off. So inside 3 minutes per lap, and that will give us an idea, won't it, Ollie, of the kind of pace we're on for.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jan Thomas earlier, and he's right at the front of that race so far. James, was this part of the plan?
With Jan, there's plans go out the window. So he's a strong guy, obviously, world, European, Commonwealth steeplechaser. To be a steeplechaser, you've got to be strong, and also, sometimes you've got to be brave. So it doesn't surprise me. He's a sub 4 minute miler, so that first 20 seconds, let's see what happens later in the race. I think for Jan today, if he gets round healthy, I'll be super happy.
Yeah, like you say, the pedigree is definitely there, and hopefully he can have a good run today. They are coming up that hill for the first time now. I don't know if these athletes would have tested that out on the warm-up at all, or maybe for them they just want to scope it out on the first lap before deciding if they're going to make any moves later on in the race. Looks like Dan Jarvis in second place there.
Yeah, Dan Jarvis with those arm warmers on. I'll let him off today. It's just about arm warmer weather. I think that there's a line, isn't there, a limit that if it's slightly over that, then you probably shouldn't be wearing them. But he looks fairly comfortable. And look at that, it's a big group at the moment. And Alan, isn't it, on the left-hand side in the Highgate colours. And what a fantastic night that was, the Highgate night of the 10,000s. It's worth a mention for the great work they did. Sarafel's up there also in the Saucony vest as the right-hand side as well. See Jager in the middle of that. I think it's Escalan Phillips as Johnny Glenn. I think also in those striped colours, the Scottish athlete. He's a tough man in the track as well.
Yeah, and he's someone who's got excellent cross-country pedigree as well in his kind of earlier days. He's done a few half marathons recently, so maybe he's someone that will push it on today.
Yeah, he won't be afraid. I mean, there's a few runners in there that you're always going to get an honest effort, and you can see right at the back. We said she would be, but Callie Thackeray right at the back of that, being that almost everyone in this race is expected to break 15 minutes. Key for her is probably to find someone that's running consistently around that 15 minutes. She doesn't want to be jumping between groups, and there's probably nothing worse if there's a big gap between her and the next couple of runners in front. She can get on the back of someone running that 15-minute pace. That would be absolutely ideal, and hopefully a little bit inside that as well.
Yeah, and I would not be surprised to see Callie Thackeray sit there for a lot of the race and start moving through on the final lap as well, because I'm sure some of the men in that main pack will start to fall off, and sometimes in a road race that can really give you momentum if you're just passing people in the last kilometre. Yeah,
she kind of looks stronger and stronger at Watford, lap after lap, kilometre after kilometre, and that's key today, because that first lap, you can get out, it can be a bit of a false economy, and then it really does kind of settle down. So as we look down, we can see the field. And look at that. That is a big pack at the moment. I'll let you call that one, Ollie.
Yeah, I think that is still Yayan up at the front. I can see in the Saucony colours. But then it looks like Jacob Allen's still up there too. Dan Jarvis still there. Paulos is there as well. plenty of athletes in there, and like we said, we could almost probably throw a blanket over them for a classic commentator's term at the moment, but it's all what happens kind of 3rd and 4th K rather than on this second lap.
Yeah, about 2:50 for that first lap, so we said it would be way inside 3 minutes, so big group. You can see Matt Rees, the Welsh runner, at the back of that group as well. So he's looking to break 15 minutes for the first time. Matty Seddon right in there, and Callie Thackeray, she's not that far from the front of the main group, is she? So, you know, if you're looking at the speed they're running, that Callie's obviously running, I think she's running there or thereabouts inside 15-minute pace.
Yeah, and she's managed to find herself kind of 4 men to tag on with, so hopefully they can all work together for the rest of this race and maybe even catch some of those frailing at the end. As we mentioned, Johnny Glenn earlier, the cross-country specialist from previous years, has really worked hard up that hill, and he's got himself maybe a 10-metre gap on the rest of the field at the moment.
I did say he's a strong man. No, he's a consistent performer. He came down to Cardiff for the Cardiff half in October. So obviously over distances, some half marathon. I've seen him run some decent 15s as well. As I said, you know, moving at the steeplechase as well. So many different disciplines that Johnny Glenn will be competitive at. And he's trying to throw it down a bit. And you can see it's Dan Jarvis just has a little look round. Paolo Sorofel's there, Jager's there as well. And Alan, it's competitive up front, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was just some jostling around that bend actually there. I don't know if you experienced any of that, James, but they really looked to be fighting as if they were in a track race around that bend off the hairpin.
Yeah, I think the battle for the best line, I think often it's in that section going back, you know, away from the start. It is the breeziest section. You do want to be in the slipstream of someone trying to tuck out of that wind, so that might be where the elbows come out. As they come back down towards us, because you feel the wind on your back, it doesn't matter where you are, you actually quite want to run a bit wide and actually get a bit of wind on your back. So you're going to see people kind of changing the ways they almost run in the sections towards us to when they're going away from the start area.
Yeah, and obviously we've mentioned her a lot already, but Callie Thackeray was still not too far off that kind of main pack, and we have had her on the podcast recently. She was talking about how she was actually training for a marathon when she ran her best 5K time in years, which gave her a world champ standard. Unfortunately not going, but she is going to the Commonwealth Games and surely looking for a European spot as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the strength of our female distance runners right now. You know, you can run times and not make teams now. You're seeing that on the men's side as well, isn't it, in certain disciplines. So I think that's the amazing thing, that we've got such depth and such quality. And the fact that, yeah, she can step into this A race and she'd be chasing them and down. We're talking about sub 15 minutes for women on the road. You know, a few years ago, that is phenomenal running. Now we've got a few, you know, probably got 4 or 5 that could get inside 15 minutes.
Yeah, and obviously IAAF recently announced that I think from next year, road times and cross-country performances will count towards IAAF world rankings. So interesting to see how that shakes things up. Looks like the rest of the men have caught up with Johnny Glenn. He's still leading it, but now it's much more of a pack. There's about 10 guys there, including the likes of Jacob Allen, of Surafel, of Dan Jarvis, as we've mentioned already today.
Yeah, Dan Jarvis is looking good, and yeah, Kay Thackeray's got a couple of guys around that. So keeping an eye on the race clocks. Just coming through with that just over 2 laps. So it's 2 laps plus the little straight. And that'll make that around about 16:15. So that means that's quick. That's quick running for Kay Thackeray at the moment.
Yeah, only 3 laps to go. James, when you were doing the race earlier, how mentally did you work with the laps themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a track runner, so I love laps. I think, you know, to break it down and obviously, you know, to be competitive, and especially when you start to think about, for me, when it gets to 2 laps to go, you start thinking about tucking in, staying relaxed, because you just knew that last lap, if you had any gas, you had some, you know, good strength. Once you got back along this top section, you could really fly. Probably the last 500 metres, and I think I pulled about 4 or 5 seconds inside the time I was running in that last 500 metres.
Yeah, and it looks like Jonathan Ascalante-Phillips has hit the front now with Jake and Alan just to his left, and they are really throwing it down now. But there is probably a group, maybe 12 or so athletes, would you say, James?
Yeah, about 12, maybe even more than that. So Alex Gomazzi in the middle of that in the Cardiff Uni colours as well. Ryan Thomas in the back of that group. Alan right at the front in the Highgate colours again. Glenn is right there as well, having pushed on. I think it's slowed a bit. I think whether that's Escalante-Phillips of Cambridge, who's just gone to the front, it definitely did kind of slow a little bit from that surge from Glenn. But that is the windiest section, and I think that, yeah, it might have slowed just slightly, but I definitely think as the laps tick on, especially when you get towards, you know, inside the last 2 laps, the pace will have to pick up because there's just so many of them there.
Well, that's it. They're over the other side of the course now, but next time we see them, they will have around 2 laps to go, and that's when some of these athletes will really start making moves. I don't think they'll be wanting to leave it to the likes of the track runners to kick home in the last 100 metres.
No, I think that the strength athletes are definitely going to do something. They're going to lose patience. But, we're coming up to 8 minutes on the clock, so it's going to be interesting when they come back through us. You're talking probably in the region of around about 5.5 minutes for the last 2 laps, give or take, if they are going to pick the pace up. So it's going to be interesting to see what's on the race clock. We anticipated, didn't we, Ollie, the time of the low 14 minutes. The fact it has slowed slightly means that we maybe are just outside 14-minute pace. But, a good last couple of kilometres and it pulls it right back in play.
Yeah, and we mentioned the prize money earlier and how that might play into kind of athletes' heads and their tactics and things. And it's not just the £1,000 up for the winner. It's also right down to the minor places. 10th place gets prize money today. So there's plenty in that pack still thinking there is a payday here.
So Palace Salford, I think it's as if on the front of that group. Yeah, Sheriff. Yeah, right at the front of that group as they go through 8:50 on the race clock with 2 laps to run.
So Sheriff, the Liverpool Harrier, really throwing it down right now as he comes up to this hill.
St Mary's athlete's been super competitive at Bucks, and he's a brave runner, the Liverpool Harrier. So he's not ever afraid to go to the front and push the paces on. And it is at the moment maybe an increase in pace by Sharif on the front of that group.
And Callie Thackeray's just come through with 2 laps to go herself. Outside 9 minutes, but still very, very good running for Callie Thackeray at the moment.
Yeah, she's still moving really well, really well. So it's quick running up there by Callie. And the fact that she's sat on the back of someone that looks like they're moving around that 15-minute pace as well. So we'll get a better idea as she comes through with 1 lap to run, where exactly Callie's on in terms of time-wise. But it's Serafo at the front. And Johnny Glenn, Dan Jarvis, Alan's tucked right in there as well.
Yeah, Sharif's still there as well. It looks like he's making another move to the front. The T-shirt under the singlet today for him. Maybe it's a bit cold for some out there, but he looks like he's really pushing on the pace now.
Yeah, the pace has definitely picked up, and you can see, we've got a line of athletes behind, battling for personal best, season's best. And if Matt Rees is probably around about 3-4 seconds in front of Kay Thacker, and he ran 15:25, I think, at the Bristol in Wednesday. So, and he said he was in better shape. So maybe if he's running, 15:15 pace, that could be around about where she's running. Or he's having a blinder and running low 15, and therefore Callie is on that low 15-minute pace.
Well, that's the thing. It makes it almost more exciting for us as spectators that the laps aren't perfectly a kilometre, because we're not quite sure until they come round exactly what time we're going to be on for. But it makes it quite nice and exciting for us.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. I wonder who's wearing a watch in there and who's having an eye at splits, or whether any of the coaches are stood on various kilometre points, just giving them a bit of a shout as they come through. The sun is coming out here in Leicester. The temperatures rise slightly, but the rain we had earlier has disappeared. And yeah, I think the pace up front is definitely going to hotten up in this last lap.
Yeah, and one thing, the temperatures stayed hot on the road all day today, though, with some fast races right from the morning. But look, it looks like the pack's getting slightly smaller up front. Johnny Glenn is back to the front and really laying it down again. Is that Josh Dickinson in the lead vest?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's Dickinson. He was hiding in that Leeds City vest, and he's been very quietly kind of biding his time. But yeah, Dickinson, Glenn, Dan Jarvis, they're going to be smelling the money and the race victory right now. It's a big, big group. 2 Highgate vests in that lead group as they're going to come down around about 11:40 with a lap to go.
So that's some really impressive running up at the front. As we say that, Jan Thomas just coming through now.
Finish it off, Jan. Come on, Adam, come on. Come on, come on.
So Callie Thackeray really working now. She's through the start line and she's about to hit the finish line for 1 lap to go. She just needs to work together now with this athlete next to her, or if she can get on the athletes in front of her, even better.
I'll tell you what, 12 minutes now on the race clock, so around about 12:10 for Callie Thackeray. So I think she's going to be outside.
Yeah, it is just under a K though, that lap, so if she can really rally.
Yeah, it's going to be very close, but I think she's going to be maybe knocking on the door. I mean, that is still phenomenal running. Fastest women's time we've had today, 15:40. So I think she's going to clock somewhere, in that low 15 minutes. Dan Jarvis now at the front. Dickinson, Sharif, Johnny Glenn. Josh Allen on the outside. Escalante Phillips is right there as well.
And Sharif looked like he was getting some instructions there, either from a teammate or a coach. He's kind of pointing, and maybe they've got some tactics about when they're going to go now. But look, Dan Jarvis, he was all talk earlier, but he looks like he's taking closer order now, and he's hit the front with about half a lap to go in this course.
Yeah, Dan Jarvis was giving it the big before the race, and I tell you what, he is a confident runner, and maybe he's going to deliver. So we are now the business end. When they come back through us, pretty much when they come into sight, it's about 200 metres to go. The wind's on their back. It's a slight uphill, but not a lot to that finish line. And the race time run just over 13 minutes now, coming up to 13:15. So I reckon we've got about a minute's left of racing.
Yeah, and as we said, Matt Seddon's just gone past. He's with James Tuttle there, the Marshall Milton Keynes athlete, working together nicely. But Callie Thackeray is closing them down, so hopefully they don't look over their shoulders too much.
Yeah, Callie Thackeray is moving. She's like literally going through this field like a knife through butter. She's cutting through each of the athletes, and she's picking the pace up. Exactly what she did at Watford. She got quicker and quicker. And I tell you what, there, look at the kick as well. Escalante Phillips is kicking with Dan Jarvis. Now they've got literally the home straight. Escalante Phillips from Dan Jarvis.
And they are really putting it down now. Can Jarvis get back onto him? Jonathan Escalante Phillips is looking around. Jarvis still moving well. Is there enough road left here?
I think he's got it. Dan Jarvis, just a little grimace, little lean back. It is just going to be outside 14 minutes. 14:11 maybe for the winner. Big group. It looks like Dickinson back in fifth, maybe 14:15. Johnny Glenn crossing. Big run by Watson as well, the master. Look at that. He's going to run inside 14:30.
This is
big running.
Fabulous running, and I wonder how many athletes will get through here under 15 minutes.
So racing down towards the race clock. Keep an eye on the race clock. We've just gone over 14:30. Look out for Callie Thackeray in that home straight.
And here comes Matt Seddon of the Sunday Podcast. He's flying through nicely here. He's going to get a sub-15 clock in. And Callie Thackeray's coming through now. She is absolutely flying here. Just outside 15 minutes for Callie Thackeray, but
15:04. She closed. That last lap was inside 30 minutes per K. So what a run, Callie Thackeray.
Phenomenal performance.
So that's a lifetime best, isn't it? If you take track into account, that's the fastest time she's ever run. I tell you what, and that's a well-earned £1,000 there, Ollie. That's a great bit of running by Callie Thackeray.
This is truly world-class running. Like we're talking about World Championship standards on the track earlier. Obviously, the British standard is 15:09, and she's well inside that on the road today up in Leicester.
Yeah, superb. And again, Chris Barnes, the team, Saucony. You know, it's phenomenal to see the work that these races have done. You know, great support, SportsShoes.com, obviously. And, you know, it's great people are travelling far and wide to be here. Great to see the brands like Saucony supporting the races, the athletes, the coaches. You know, it's something that, put on your bucket list if you haven't been to a podium race already. If you fancy a fast 5K, then I know there's one coming soon in different locations as well. So watch this space for an announcement for a few different podium races coming up. Because I know Chris really wants to take it far and wide across the UK.
Yeah, and it's not just going to be 5Ks. They're going to have all sorts of distances. We're talking road miles, half marathons. I know a lot of the British team for the Europeans, the half marathon boys, are going to be using it as their tune-up for the marathon and the European champs. You mentioned Saucony, we mentioned it earlier in the show as well. They're supporting so many races these days, obviously with the BMC that you're heavily involved in, James, also the English National Cross Country, and obviously here for the road races. So they're supporting all terrains, road, track and cross, the best of the sport.
I think we're going to catch a word with our winner. Jonathan, what a run, fella. Come in here, grab a microphone.
Oh, this is the first time.
Yeah, so congrats on the win. How do you find that? It was a bit of back and forth all the way.
It really was.
We'll just give Jonathan a chance to catch his breath here, because he has just put in a phenomenal performance there.
A bit of both. I knew it was going to be an interesting one. It was quite funny because I've come up with a couple of the guys, including Josh Carr, who was potentially going to pace it out. And I think potentially the fact they decided not to played into my hand. I mean, it was really, I think there's probably a couple of guys that could have easily outkicked me if it wasn't for Dan pushing it on with about, 500 to go or so on, or so. So the real sort of sharp kickers, so we've made a bit of a gap. But yeah, I don't know. I knew I felt good, but then you'd also know that everyone else is probably feeling good when it's a bit slow, and it's hard to gauge what feeling good running quite hard is like relative to other people.
Yeah, well, James and I were chatting earlier. It almost looked like it turned into a bit of a cross-country race here, with you guys not so concerned about times and people working up those hills over on the hairpin over there. Johnny Glenn putting a massive surge.
Yeah.
How did that feel, kind of being in the pack with that?
I think that was probably my best tactical move, in the sense of like knowing not to necessarily rush at that point. Johnny's a quality athlete, but I also knew there'd be people that would want to chase him down and gradually try and close the gap. So I sort of decided not to go immediately with it and just try and let the other guys drag me through. But yeah, it was when I sort of hang on to Dan and then tried to kick, about 200 or 250 to go. And I went pretty hard because I knew I wanted to gap him. But then when we got to about here, I was like, I don't really know how fast my legs are moving, if at all. So there was a bit of looking around.
Yeah, well, obviously it's great to get the win, but I've just seen Chris Barnes moving over here with some sort of
I don't think I've ever held one of these before. So. There you go. Crikey.
So there is some fantastic prize money on offer as well. So Sports Shoes and Saucony sorting it out today.
I'm sure there'll be some even
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I reckon he should take it to the bank Monday morning. I want to see the bank manager's face when he turns up with that, puts it on the counter, cash it.
So I think hopefully we can get Callie Thackeray, our women's race winner, over here as well.
Yeah, the biceps are burning then, aren't they? So and some nice bit of camaraderie and some good racecraft shown by our winner there, kicking for home, that home straight. Do you notice a bit of an incline at the end there? A little bit of incline in the last 50 metres?
I tell you, I felt everything in that last 100 metres. Every half a mile of wind.
Awesome, awesome. Right, Callie, no, you're in. Come in over here. Grab a mic.
Thank you.
So, Callie, congratulations. Obviously, had you on the podcast recently, so great to see you get the win today. How did you find it, first of all?
Yeah, it was actually really good. I was a bit panicked before the race because I was like, should I have gone in the B race? But no, in the end, it worked out well, and it was nice to get dragged along by some fast guys. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, obviously Chris has been teasing us on social media. As soon as you asked to be in the A race, he was saying, are we going to get that sub 15? You were so close, about 15:04 unofficially, I think. Is that a PB overall, though?
Yeah, PB overall, so I know I shouldn't complain with that. But on my watch, it was like 2:56 per K, so I was like, surely that's sub, I'm really bad at maths, but I was like, surely that's sub 15, but no, it was, I think 15:03 or 15:04, so.
Yeah, so you did opt to wear a watch today, because James and I were chatting about that, kind of the tactics with that, whether it's nice to know or whether just checking, because the course with the bends can be a bit dodgy on the GPS.
Yeah, it can, yeah, I think that's what it was as well, and yeah, no, it was nice to check where I was at. I think I pretty much kept it the same pace all the way around, maybe, it's very similar. On my watch it was anyway, who knows, but yeah.
Yeah, obviously I think you're about 6:12, not 6:12, you needed a kind of a 3 minutes to close it out at the end there, so you must have rallied quite a bit on the last lap. Obviously you're passing quite a few people that may have gone off a little bit too quickly. Did that help at all?
Yeah, no, it definitely helped. It helps picking people off, and yeah, I felt like I was in a good rhythm and I just kind of kept it. I guess I couldn't go that extra gear today. But no, it ended up I was a bit panicked with the wind and everything, but it was actually fine. So yeah, a really good course to run fast, so.
Yeah, obviously, Callie, we've seen you race quite a lot this season already, obviously early out in Australia earlier in the year. What is next for you then?
What's next? Good question. I don't know, I'm still on I'm undecided whether I go to St. Moritz again and do a stint there because it worked so well for me. But if not, I might do 1 or 2 more local races here just to see what I can do and if I stay. But yeah, I don't really know. It's undecided, but we'll see. Yeah.
And then obviously some championships later in the season as well?
Yeah. So Commonwealth Games, my race is on the 7th of August. So really looking forward to that. And obviously all my training and everything now is just geared up towards that. So.
Yeah, and it looks like Chris Barnes has a nice check for you as well.
Lovely stuff.
Because obviously it's nice to get the win, but also nice to get a payday as well. We're just having some behind the scenes issues here. But it should be right.
Are you changing the number on that? Yeah.
There you go. So, do you want to
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
So Callie Thackeray there, your women's race winner. Obviously in the A race, thrown in the deep end with the men, but it's really paid off for her today.
Yeah, that was way worth the email or the conversation with Chris in the week. What a run, what a few weeks for Callie. So great to see her. Big smiles, smashing it on the track, on the road. And today in Leicester, a big run, knocking on the door of 15 minutes. It was just ticking over in that last 100 metres. But yeah, fantastic time nonetheless, and a fantastic day of racing here. And yeah, great seeing the Saucony race in the middle of everything going on as well. And yeah, great to see those Endorphin Pro 3s getting a nice launch in what is a great race for Podium.
Yeah, and obviously this weekend we are going to have a special discount code for SportsShoes.com on all Saucony gear. I think it'll be 20%, so that will be on the live stream. That will be shared for you guys. So if you want to get your Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s, you will be able to get them heavily discounted this weekend as well.
Get a pair.
Yeah, James ran really well, so you know.
Well done, and again, yeah, well done to the team, you know, behind the race, and I think, yeah, fantastic bit of racing. Where is Matt Seddon? That's the question. How's he feeling, Ollie?
Yeah, I'm going to try and find Matt Seddon here on the comms. I don't know. There he is, Mr. Matt Seddon. How was your race, mate?
Oh man, yeah, 5K is a long way. Very hard. Luckily for me, I had one of my Oxford students. I was keying off of him. I know he's been training well because I've been coaching him, of course. Plug my own coaching. But yeah, we just worked together around there, to be fair. We're both wearing the same vest, had the same shoes, so it's very fun. But yeah, probably 2 laps too long, to be honest with you. Oh, and it was wet. A lot of back in the pack, there was a lot of spray. A lot of mud kind of getting in your eyes and stuff, so all fun. Felt a bit like a cross-country race, I won't lie to you. How was the comms?
How was the shoes, mate?
Oh yeah, the shoes, no complaints on the shoes. Absolutely lovely, kept me going. I think credit to them, inside 15 minutes today, which is the aim.
Yeah, no, obviously some great feedback from the shoes so far today. So great to see, obviously, this event supported by Saucony and Sports Shoes, the Podium 5K up in Leicester. It's been a great day. It's been great commentating for you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed the stream thus far.